So, being Christian means easier life, right? Not necessarily. So let's talk about it. Life can sometimes be a roller coaster, and we get it.
So tune into The Walk, where we'll explore the modern-day Christian journey by addressing challenging questions and trending topics faced by young adults today. No topic is off limits. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Walk. I'm your host Andre, and today I have two very special guests.
Brianna.
And Melinda.
It's very nice to have you guys here.
Very
I
happy
feel
to be here.
outnumbered by the female energy here, but
It's
I
all
think we're going to
good.
have a good time.
I think so.
So if you are watching, make sure to like and subscribe and share to someone so they can enjoy this. We have a very good episode. I think it's one that a lot of people can relate to. A lot of people have good opinions and interesting opinions on. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to start off this time with our hot topic, our word on the street. And word on the street is, I don't know if y'all heard, but word on the street is there's some beef out there.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
There's some beef out there. Now, personally, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know much about this beef. It had to actually be brought to my attention. But
Yeah.
there's beef out there between these two rappers, Kendrick and Drake. So someone, obviously besides me, can you fill us in on what's going on with these rappers?
You want to do
Just
the
give
honors?
us a little basic rundown.
Basic rundown. The big three is supposed to be Kendrick, J. Cole, and Drake.
Wait, hold on. Those supposed to be the big three in rap?
Yeah, in the industry, like, it's kind of like they're just like this
Interesting.
power team, right?
All right.
But Kendrick is like, ain't no big three, it's just big me. J. Cole comes with a slight diss. It wasn't nothing crazy,
Alright.
but then he like automatically apologized.
Who did he diss?
Kendrick.
Okay.
So he removed himself from
Okay.
the fire because it went guns a-blazing after that.
Smart man.
So then after, here comes Drake. But if anybody knows Drake, he started from Degrassi.
Mm-hmm.
He's an actor.
Little pretty boy.
He's from Canada. He's more like pop scene. He just goes where the culture goes. Like, he just hops. Listen, let me not state my side. Let me not state my side.
Yes,
Unbiased
bias,
opinion at
bias.
first, okay?
But you know, Drake is everywhere. Everybody loves Drake. You hear everybody bopping to Drake. Kendrick is more of the drop a song, drop an album, vanish for another 2 years, come back after a year, drop another song and vanish again. So
they're
I think
bars.
Drake dropped 2 or 3 songs. Kendrick dropped 2 or 3, but Kendrick essentially won, and he's showing out for the culture right now.
Yeah.
All right. So, actually, I was going to ask a question, but I'm going to ask one more question before then. Is this like, what? Okay, let me ask this. What's the last beef between rappers that you've seen that went on like in a similar fashion to this? Because I feel like this has been going on for a while, no? Or like it's kind of escalated and stuff?
I feel like there's always some type of beef. But that's like the last beef was with Drake, too.
Yep. Okay.
But who knows? Oh, that was. I was gonna say who knows if it's real or just like
Publicity.
publicity.
Yeah.
But some of them you could kind of tell.
Yeah.
It's a little more than that.
I don't think it's as like obvious beef as back in the days was. Like,
Oh, back
Yeah,
in the
they
day,
was-
they come
they
for
were
your whole
ready.
life.
They were
right?
ready.
They
now
don't
it's
care.
like, oh, they dropped a song. We know they have beef. Like, where did this come from?
All right, so whose side are you guys on in this beef?
I'm a Kendrick girl.
All right. Why is that?
I would have been, you know, from way back when.
See,
She's
But-
a writer.
Like listening, I definitely listen to him less now just because my playlist is more Christian based.
Gotcha.
But yeah, when this dropped, I was like, Drake, what are you doing? Like, let up.
Yeah, no, he's very talented in like his verses and stuff. But I'll listen to all of them. At the end of the day, like.
It's just
But
good
honestly,
music?
I'm not gonna say I don't like either of them, but I would have rather J. Cole if I had to pick between
okay,
them.
okay.
He
So
removed
that's just
himself
me.
from the pod.
Exactly why I
doesn't
like him even
count.
more. Like he don't
Brother.
want to be a part of the drama. That's it. But
I'm
he's
still gonna
so he's
listen
so
to Drake
good.
if, you know,
He's just so good. But no, Drake is also part of that mix. So
All right, so if you if you proclaim that, Kendrick won, right? Or you agree with Kendrick, you're on his side. You're still gonna listen to the opposite, like his opposition, What kind of fan are you?
Don't do this to
what
us.
What kind of fan are you?
They're bops, though.
I'm not cuckoo. Like,
they're bops. I mean, that's between them. I'm sorry.
I just like good music, period.
I feel that.
Yeah.
If it comes down to it, Kendrick. But I'm still bop to Drake if push comes to shove. It just is what it is.
All right, last question. Do y'all think that anybody in this rap battle took it too far?
We both made the same sound. I feel like you're gonna talk, but I don't want to cut you
Are
off.
you gonna talk about the one between the women, or are you gonna talk about the ones?
Well, you go ahead and say what you're gonna say.
No, because I feel like between the female rappers versus the male rappers, there's a lot more tension that I've been noticing too. So
I wasn't gonna talk about that. So.
no, okay.
Go ahead.
No, that's it. That's you.
Oh. But you mean between both of them?
Yeah.
I feel like they definitely.
Because, like, normally, like, let's say, like, me and Brianna start having a heated discussion, right? It usually starts off well, but then someone goes too far.
No,
like,
Drake
someone
definitely.
get there.
Drake definitely took the further leap, and then Kendrick was like, "Oh, you trying to show out?" And then.
Okay. I'm gonna do you one better.
Lead. Right.
All right.
But it's rap beef. They take it there. They run with it.
All right. So you mentioned there's female beef. So that actually just made me think of something. Do you think that in the beef with the females, that they went further than the males in terms of like how the type of punches they were throwing? You know what I'm saying?
I think that they cut a little bit more deep, and I feel like people search for reasons why there's beef, and then sometime or another, maybe like a rapper, one of them that are involved would be like, no, we're cool. So it's like stuff within social media, I feel they probably hype it up a lot more to make it seem like it's more intense, and their fans will ride for them and be like, yeah, she doesn't like her because this, or like, you know what I mean? Like this was about, this grandma that she had, and the aunt and the uncle and the da-da-da-da, and they be searching. But I feel like sometimes it isn't that bad, and sometimes it is. So it just depends. But they do go hard, though.
That's okay, because I'm going to stick to my Christian playlist.
They say if you can't take the heat, get out the kitchen, and I'm going to stay far away because I ain't trying to do any of that. All right, so let's go to our next segment, right? Won't he do it? Now, traditionally, this segment, we've been like telling something that we're thankful for, like kind of like a testimonies time. I want to do a little bit different on this episode. Still saying what you're thankful for, but I want you to think of something a bit outside of the box, something that often gets overlooked, but it's actually something radical. So, for example, right, you could think of like, okay, before the invention of planes, if I needed to travel to California, that would take quite a long time. And if I had family over there, I would probably not see them for a long time because making that journey could take a long time by car or train or something like that. So I would say I'm thankful for the invention of planes, So what is something radical that you could think of that you're thankful for?
I don't know if this is radical enough, but sleep. And let me tell you why, because I was thinking about this earlier this week. Isn't the concept of you just disengaging from society for hours at a time and the world continuing as you're sleeping kind of crazy?
Well, now that you put it that way, it does sound crazy.
Like you just have like a turn off knob, and then your body is like,
and then you wake back up.
And then you wake back up like nothing ever happened.
That's crazy.
Well, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
So like the rest concept, yes, but isn't it God just knew we needed rest? Like we can't fight sleep.
That's so
like
true.
our body just goes to sleep for hours.
For a third of the day, we're just
crazy.
out. And so you said that, and now I'm thinking like, okay, it's also crazy like how it works in harmony with things, right? So imagine there weren't things like time zones, and imagine like the sun set at the same time everywhere. Like basically the world as we know it would shut down for some hours. Like, everybody goes to sleep at different times, but let's say like between 2 and 6, I would say 90% of people, they're sleeping, right? Like, even if you stay up late, you may stay up to like midnight, 1. And if you wake up early, you might wake up around 6, you know? So like 2 to 5, 6, like the world is shut down. If you need help, sorry. Like everybody's asleep, you know, that type of thing. But things work in harmony where the world is set up in such a way that like the sun is setting at different times. It's daytime somewhere. Like, you know, we have people awake at different times and stuff. But it's just crazy to think that it still goes on. Like you said, like you're out and the world does keep moving. You know, like you get to just catch the train back when you wake up. You know,
Right. See, I knew I wasn't crazy.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that before. What about you, Bree?
Ooh, okay, hot seat. So this is really random, but I would probably say water bottles.
Water bottles.
Yes. And
You
I
gotta break
say
this one down.
this.
You gotta break this one down.
It's like my mind is just like, but no, like we have to drink water.
Okay.
And remember, like back in the day, people used to have to go to the well, go do all these things and work to get the water. And it's just there. You know what I mean? We all we just grab a water bottle, we're headed out, we just grab it and go. It's so convenient. But like, yeah, water bottles, Stanleys now keeps.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my goodness, I got this is. I'm not even gonna.
It does
right.
the
It
job.
does the right. Because who's about to pay? You know
Let's-
what? We
let's
won't get
take
into
a-
that.
Also, this was free.
But water bottles, like, you know, we take, like you said, we take a lot of things for granted. So
true,
just
that's
the idea that, you know, we have the ability for us to have water at our convenience and then it stay cold for long periods of time. So it's even the temperature we want. How much
Yeah.
more could we ask?
Yeah,
you know?
we've got it pretty convenient.
Pretty good.
We don't gotta go. What you said about going somewhere to get the water, that's what appealed to me, because I'm like,
Do I really
bro.
need the water in
Other countries, it's still a thing.
That's true
Because
though.
with my
They
mom
gotta
in
have
Haiti,
like the
like,
well and stuff. Yeah.
when she was building her land, like her house and the land and stuff, she didn't have the water system set up yet.
Oh,
So like the
wow.
kids were going still to get buckets from the well that was over there.
Ain't no way.
So it's like there's still countries that do it. But now she got the water system. She takes her showers. They have water. So
Nice.
I wouldn't have thought about that. All right. So if you guys have stuff in the comments that you think of that something radical that you're thankful for, put it there because I'm interested to know what other people.
What about
other
you?
people think.
Yes.
So for me, yo, chill. Hold on. Nah,
We'll give you a
chill.
minute.
Hold on.
We'll
Hold
give you a
on.
minute.
No, I definitely had it. Oh my gosh. Bring it back. Got it. Whew, thank you, Jesus. GPS, y'all.
yeah,
my
the
gosh.
way we were using that
Yes.
quest and getting
Yep.
lost.
Bro,
How did people?
gotta print
how
that
did
thing
we
out.
do? How did they do it with the map? I still
You
don't
have to pay
understand.
attention to every street.
Every single
Because if you
one.
miss that street,
You got to go back.
and no, but the thing is,
There's
you
no
wouldn't know
recalculating.
you missed it, and you wouldn't know when you missed it. So you
That's
just driving
true.
for a while. You're like, oh, it says 60 miles.
Yeah, you're right.
You got to
You're like,
guess
damn.
at
You're right.
8.7 miles.
You're right.
You're like, did I miss
Give
it
or
20
take.
miles ago? Is it 20 miles
Oh,
ahead?
snap.
I don't know. Like, I have no idea.
Oof.
Like, I
That's a
really
good one,
remember
though.
that.
That is a
I've
very
been
good
living in
one.
Kissimmee since I moved to Florida, and I still use my GPS
Oh,
everywhere I
absolutely.
go. Mainly because of traffic, but I still
Absolutely.
use it.
And then,
everywhere I
like,
go.
getting directions, right? So, like, you would have to, you're going someplace new, you just gotta, like, all right, pull into the gas station. Who looks like they know where to go.
Oh wow, yes.
And then they're like, you know, they don't tell you real directions like MapQuest gonna give you. They be like, go down the street.
Yep, make
you
a
see the
left.
big tree, you're gonna
Right.
turn left. Then you're gonna see the church, not the church on the right with the
You already
steeple.
lost me at
the
that
church,
point.
that one that don't look like a church. You like what?
yeah, that
man.
was. Those were some interesting days.
I'm not gonna lie. I remember one time going and asking for directions. I don't know who I was with, but I remember we had to ask someone for directions. And we ended up pulling back up to the same person. And they were like, I was like, well, yeah, it didn't work. Can you try that again? Like, yeah. So very happy for GPS. So
Second
much
that.
more efficient. Yeah. I wouldn't go to new places if we didn't have GPS. Just go to the same places. I know. Forget about it. Yeah, let me see if anybody has said anything. Danielle said she remembers having to print the
Yep.
MapQuest directions. Yep, those are not fun times.
The stress.
I wonder if MapQuest is still a thing.
It can't be. Because who would use
Probably
it?
for nostalgia purposes. Can't be.
Yo, someone try to go to mapquest.com and let us know what happens. Because
Yeah.
I want to know.
Let's see. I'm curious.
All right, so let's go into our main main topic. So today, the title of the show is It's the Little Things. Now, little background. I'm going to have Lee in a second. He's going to play a video because I saw this video on Instagram and it kind of sparked this topic. Lee, go ahead, play the video, and then we'll get into it.
Burning Man recently, and I learned this beautiful technique. Don't just say I love you to people, but in your mind, practice a game called She Loves Me or He Loves Me. Oh, she put her arm on my shoulder as I was driving. She loves me. She made coffee for me this morning. She loves me. You're mentally reaffirming, because most people, we do the negative thing. Oh, he's not talking to me today. Does he really love me? Oh, he couldn't make this date because he had to work overtime. Does he really love me? No, you want to practice the opposite. He loves me. She loves me. The littlest thing your partner does, you look at it and you reinforce, I am loved. Understanding the she loves me exercise really helps you feel more secure. And then in turn, you can give more love.
All right, so what are you guys' initial thoughts on that video?
He has a point.
You think that that's a effective strategy?
I think with everything is balance, you know. Of course, if you're trying to retrain your mind into just constantly thinking negative, like, yes, that's good. But I think both are important, which, I mean, we all know, obviously, with balance. But, like, as women, I feel like, I'm sure you can relate. We just kind of, like you... we spoke about it before. We spoke about this before.
No, we do get a little delulu already. So
yeah,
we automatically notice when the love actions are removed or are not being reciprocated as normal, or if someone just feels like they're coming off cold and not as loving. So we can easily get in our heads to be like, oh, well, he doesn't love me.
Yeah. But it's a combination of both, because sometimes, like in the beginning, it could be like, oh my gosh, he did this. And then as he said...
Don't guys do that?
Right? No. That's not what I'm saying, too.
Oh.
Okay.
Right.
Y'all just switch it up. Because in the beginning, it's, he's doing all these little things. Look at how, great he is.
Yeah.
Then you get in a relationship, and those things don't matter no more. All of a sudden, you're looking at all the bad little things that he's doing.
No.
Oh, look at this. Look at it. He don't care about me. What happened? Where'd the switch happen?
The switch is that he got comfortable and he started showing his real self.
Fam. He was like that. Y'all just didn't see it before.
But women do that too. Women get what they want. They get the relationship, and then they start acting cuckoo.
But not on purpose. Like, we got him. But it could be just like you said, comfortability. We all can get that way. But
I don't know. I think. All right.
Eventually you start eating like. And by the time you guys are ready, a year in, you scarfing down your food. Come on now.
I don't know. I think you can get comfortable, but those little things still happen in the comfortability. You just don't notice it. You come to expect it. So it's not impressive anymore.
Okay.
But there's also the aspect of, say, during the dating, before it became official era, either party was purposely doing extra stuff
and seeming intentional.
Yes, seeming intentional, seeming good.
Okay.
So then when they get in, they're like, oh, well, I'm in the relationship now, so
maybe
I don't got to do
it.
So sometimes it is really withheld compared to what the beginning was.
All right. But, all right, let me ask this, because I'm not going to lie, that's the first thing I thought of. Is it feasible, though, to do that for the rest of your life? Because I'm not gonna lie, all right?
Not
in the beginning,
extreme.
Okay, because I'm in the beginning, guys, I feel like we do a lot, when you're trying to, get that girl, you're willing to do a lot. I don't know that you could do that for, at some point, you can be like, yo, this is work.
Wait,
slaving out
what do
here.
you mean by work?
All right,
what is the work? Because showing affection?
Yeah.
What is it?
No, so, all right. So, in the beginning, right, I'm trying to think back to, okay, I'm not a good example because I didn't really chase women like that. I was much more shy.
They just came to him, right?
But no, chill.
He's like, nah,
But all right, so what I would see, right? Let's go with, because I'm trying to think of something that everybody can easily picture. All right, let's go. college days, right? If you went to college, or if you didn't, like, just think about high school. Think about when the guy was interested in the girl, and like all the things he would start doing. Like, he gonna be like, you know, what they call like macking, you know, like he's trying to talk to her, he's doing all kinds of stuff. Like, he's always, like, it seems like she's always on his mind. He's always trying to like do something, get her attention and everything. I don't think that's feasible to do forever. I think that's feasible to do in that phase, because that's what you're trying to do. Like, now you need to make sure your character gets known and stuff in that phase, and the girl should be trying to see, like, all right, behind all this niceties, like, who is he? Like, but there are certain things that I really think are just for that beginning phase, because it's just attention getters, and that's not something you can do forever.
I hear what you're saying. It's like,
some of it stays,
the chase,
you know?
Like, there's no longer the chase, of course, because now you've solidified the relationship.
Yeah, but like, I'm not saying like you shouldn't.
I feel like there would just be a new way of keeping that spark.
Okay,
you know
I agree with that. I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Cause like it's not like, okay, I'm not gonna like suggest we go on dates anymore because we're already in a relationship. Yeah. So like I'm not gonna. Before I was like, oh hey, let's go here to eat, or like I'm gonna pick you up at this time, like, you know, stuff like that. No, that should still for sure happen. But I'm talking like the stuff that y'all be finding annoying when ugly guys do it. That stuff. Like, y'all don't want that.
We're not gonna have that conversation.
No. I'm just saying, get you to think of the things I'm talking about. Like, that's the stuff that's more for
like what you feel like is corny, maybe. Because we would still like that too.
That's a lie.
We would, from the person we like. Yeah. Because, you know, I will say, I don't know if this is going off. I don't know if this is going off topic.
Nah, go ahead.
But did you see that one video with or not even just one, but it's always been a thing around Valentine's Day. Sometimes I'd see married couples, like the husband will still ask the wife to be his Valentine, right? So I guess to tie it into the whole little things, it is about the little things. You don't have to do something extravagant. You don't have to do something like she'll think about that forever. Like, wow, like he didn't have to do this, or he didn't, like he already has me. He won me over, whatever. But like it's also to show like I still care about you, or you know.
And we can still be young and in love.
Right. You know, bring him back.
After the years have passed.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that it may just be wanting what you don't have?
Say that again?
Do you think that this desire, right, is just a part of wanting what you don't have? So for like, if the guy isn't doing these little things that he was doing in the beginning, that's what you want. But if you had that, do you think you would still really want it?
Hold on, because I think I understood the first part. I don't know if I followed.
Okay, so how can I make an example? So, all right, let's use this one, right? If we ask two different women, right? Oh my God.
One woman.
She was saying that her husband, like, oh, every year he asks me to be his Valentine. The other one, she's like, oh, my husband never does that, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like the woman that doesn't have that, she would desire it because it's something she doesn't have. But the one who gets it, she would just be like, oh yeah, it's a nice thing that he does, but she wouldn't care as much as the person who doesn't have it, is because it's a lack of that makes you want it.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but I do feel like the woman that has it still wants it. She's just being satisfied. Like, so she might not be like, oh, are you going to ask me to be your Valentine this year? Are you going to ask me to be? Because she knows it's coming. It's something she's now expecting. But like Danny said in the comments, that's why you're supposed to do things that you're able to maintain.
Bro, that's key. Listen here.
Don't start
fellas,
off on the mountaintop and put me in a relationship in the valley.
Think about that.
That's not what we're here for.
Let me tell you that. Think about that first birthday gift you give her.
Yeah.
Make it a good one. But
you gotta work your way
that
up,
level.
You know, Start small. I mean, of course not.
Yeah.
But you start small, and then as time progresses.
Absolutely. You gotta.
That's so true.
You gotta set the pace. All right. So let me ask this: what do you think matters more? Or no. What do you think is more important in a relationship? Is it the little things, or is it the big things? And let's start with like. Actually, no. Let's start general. Little things or big things? Actually, sorry. Let me rephrase that. If you could only would you rather, right? if you could only have a boyfriend that does big grand gestures or a boyfriend that does the little things consistently, which one would you pick?
You want to go first? I already know my answer.
You go ahead.
The little things. And you said keyword at the end, consistently.
Consistently.
Because all the little things could add up to... For me, I'm a patterns kind of girl. Right. So if I see the consistency, if I see, and that's just both in your relationships and your friendships, that makes me grow to love you as a person more, right? Mm-hmm. So if Melinda is just like, hey girl, like, let's go shopping. And then that's like one love language. Oh, hey girl, I saw this and I got this. I thought of you. That's something else. And they're all little things. And our relationship will grow as a result of that. Mm-hmm. And she might have just, I don't know, bought me a flight to go to Bali or something.
I gotta fly you out to be your friend?
I don't know. I'm just thinking the most lavish. I'm just thinking the most craziest, like, grand thing. But, like, I would have been like, wow, that's so cool. But, like, sometimes, especially if you know someone has money, it might not even mean that much.
Yeah.
And knowing those little things, like, it could have taken them out their way. It could have inconvenienced them in some way, shape, or form to where that little thing actually does matter. Like, or it will kind of supersede or exceed the vibe.
All right. I have a follow-up question for you, but I want to hear your answer first.
No, I agree. Definitely the little things, because little things is every day.
Yeah.
The big things is once every other month, once on holidays. That's when everybody celebrates.
Yeah.
I want our own pattern, our own flow of like, oh, I know when I wake up in the morning, you're going to come over and like give me a hug or give me a kiss, that you're going to work or whatever. Like the small things to let me know that you're thinking about me or that you care or even that you're considering me. Relationship or in friendships, like if we're about to meet up and you walk in with food and I haven't eaten all day, and you knew I haven't eaten all day, I'm like, well, why wouldn't you ask me if I was? Even if I sent you the money for it, just the question like, hey, I'm getting food.
Yeah.
Do you want me to bring something?
Yeah,
for you?
it's just that simple.
It's the small things that, like she said, develops the relationship and just even in relationships, like creates that intimacy, that vulnerability, and that trust.
All right, so just to make sure that y'all understand.
It's like, nah, come on.
I'm not saying that I disagree or anything. But I just want to.
The little thing might be a small picnic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
that's exactly. I was like, so what if on your birthday
we don't need
you ain't getting
that
nothing big on your birthday?
Well, I'm gonna do big for me on my birthday,
right.
So you can give me whatever.
That's true.
Small.
So Valentine's Day, I could just do a little.
It can be
get you
as
little
long
rose.
as it's stopped. Okay.
It's the little things.
Okay, but you have to be thoughtful.
She said one rose. Okay.
It's the little.
You gotta be thoughtful with it.
All right, so he put a rose on your door and said, "For my Valentine." It's the little things,
Am
Now-
I gonna be alone in this? Because
I'm sorry.
if he puts a rose on your door and says, "Will you be my Valentine?" Just a single rose.
All right.
That's what's throwing her off.
It's the one rose. That's it.
That depends.
The single rose.
Do you have other roses leading up?
That's a big thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Roses aren't that
It's
expensive.
the thought that counts. Like,
Yeah, he can have a little thought.
But that's still really. I think that's still really cute.
You see this?
It is.
Has anyone else seen this?
Okay,
They
but-
said they want a boyfriend that does the little things and then are beginning to explain the big things that this boyfriend can do.
But that's not lavish. If you're
We need balance.
yeah. See,
This is a would you rather question.
it
If I
has
said,
to be.
would you
with
rather?
you at least.
If I said, would you rather get stabbed or get shot, and you were like, a little bit of both, I would tell you that's not how the game works. Okay, you can only have
Well,
one.
we chose the little things.
Yeah, the little things.
All right. I do agree. I think the little things show character, right? So you have to pay attention to that. Of course, yes, we want both. We want the little things and throw in a big thing every once in a while. It's completely feasible. I don't think it's too much. Now, I will say you do have people that fall on either side in terms of like what they give. Like some people focus more on the little things, and then others are the little things can kind of slide by, but like a big moment's gonna show up and like they're on it for that. Now, with that, right? Do you think that if you know, no. Let me not ask that. All right, what do you think says more about the person, about your significant other? If they're consistent in the big things and they miss the little ones, or if they're consistent in little things and they miss the big ones, what do you think says more about them?
There's none of that for me.
It has to be both.
Yes, but we're not even just in like holidays, like, oh, give me a birthday present. If I get a promotion at my job and it's the promotion that I've been fasting for, I've been praying for, and I finally get the job and you come home and you're like, oh, well, I'm tired. Like, I need you to celebrate that with me because that's big for me.
Oof.
But just because you cater to me in that situation doesn't mean that I don't want the little things throughout the day.
Okay.
So, like, a relationship is work. A friendship is work. Any type of, like, relationship is work. So if I have a friend that likes to just hang out, but then when I have something big going on in my life and I want to celebrate, they're like, oh, I can't make it. It's giving, are you jealous?
What? That was a leap.
No, but that was a leap. I was just, just being a little unhinged. But sometimes people don't like to celebrate the large things with you in life. And that does say something.
Okay, so we have a comment from Cynthia Morgan that says, little things, but genuinely. Okay, so you're not just like, you don't have like an ulterior motive, or you're just like genuine. Like you really were thinking about that person in the moment and stuff. Were you gonna say something, Brianna?
Oh, no.
Okay, so let's reverse it, right? We've been talking about this in the sense of all positive. What if it's negative little things, but positive big things?
That's how you fall into the trap of ignoring red flags.
Ooh.
So you think the little things are red flags? The little negative things you think are red flags?
The little negative things are the things that's gonna turn into tumbleweed, pile up, and then be a big thing later in life when you're married and 3 kids down the road. And you're like, oh, well, why are you acting like this? Well, that person shows you from jump. And so you thought, well, I'll get over it. Like, he'll be fine. Oh, he showered me with flowers on Valentine's Day. It's a small thing. You're not going to catch me.
See, that's a tough one because even now it's like I'm unsure even because you have, your non-negotiables.
Right.
Of course, within all, like everything with your relationships, your friendships, your jobs, all that. But how do you know? Well, eventually you'll figure it out after time has passed and you're like, okay, I can't put up with this anymore. But like my thing has always been, how do you know when enough is enough? Because you could be like, I don't care that he leaves his socks out on the floor. Like eventually you may get tired of it, but that may be something that you enjoy doing is cleaning, right? So how do you know sometimes whether or not that's gonna be a red flag or if that's just like a little pet peeve that you'll just like, he may work on and get better at, So I don't even know the answer to that. So I'm just like,
be one of the important things about dating or getting to know someone before taking like the deeper leaps into relationships.
True.
Because
you're saying to like figure out what are those things that you wouldn't be able to deal with.
Right.
Okay.
So you do have to nip certain things in the butt from early on because they will turn around and be like, okay, well, why didn't you say that from jump? Now all of a sudden it's a problem. Right.
All right.
But I guess there is also the aspect of like nobody's perfect, right? So there is also the aspect of grace and forgiveness, like the small mistakes. But when it starts taking a toll on you personally and the relationship, then it definitely needs consideration.
Okay, so sometimes these type of questions, I feel like they may seem obvious until you're in the situation. Because then it's like, oh, like I always thought, this, like I wouldn't put up with certain like little things for a long time because like it's showing me who they are. Like I know my worth. But you get in a situation where that person checks all the other boxes and it's just these little things that like, it's like, don't quite like, but like everything else. And let's say you've been searching for a minute, and you finally found like they got all these things and they're into you.
That's a big one.
So it's like, you really gonna throw it away, and they're showing up in the big moments, Or like when you finally confront them about all these little things, all right, they do some big grand gesture to get you to not be angry with them anymore. Like, what? It's harder to put that person to the side after all that. I think that's the situation that a lot of people find themselves in. It's not just like, oh, some random person and all you're doing little negative things and like, I don't care about you. But it's like that person that like either you've been with them a long time or like a person you've always wanted to be with or a person that just like, oh, this is my ideal person. And it's like everything is lining up, but this like, yo, like little things each day or, you know, whatever frequency, but like little things that just like put me a little on edge or upset me or frustrate me or like, you know, little things that you may think are inconsiderate. Do you deal with it? Do you try to teach them? Do you try to, and how long?
I think very similar to what Melinda said is that you will see those things and they could either be interpreted as a red flag or, of course, like something where you're like, let me keep my eye out on this. But when you realize you can't take it anymore, that's when, you know, I mean, some people's thresholds, I'm a pretty patient person, but yeah, I realized that, like I said, patterns. Once you see certain things and you may think, okay, like I'm okay with this, certain things may, how do I say this? Basically, let's say we have a disagreement on one topic. That one topic may not just stick to that one topic, but your ideas on this one topic can trickle into so many different categories and ways that we will butt heads that you're really not on board with. So with that, you kind of have to consider, okay, like we don't align in this area, and more than likely I could see in the future that we're gonna have a lot of trouble in all these other areas, and like you said, it's time to go. You know,
you should also consider how receptive they are to bringing those things to their attention.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I think something in relationships that's really, really key is how that person responds when you tell them how you feel. Because a lot of times, like we include the feeling, but we don't put it by itself. Like we end up saying something that the person takes as accusatory. So then they automatically get on the defensive. But when you bring yourself in the vulnerable position, like, hey, like this may seem small to you, but when you did it, it made me feel like this. Not like, you like when you say that, then their response, if they truly care about you, is like, crap, like Melinda feels, you know, like I don't care about her. No, actually, that's not a good one. I learned that. Melinda feels sad or alone or like whatever when I do this. I don't want her to feel that way.
Right.
Therefore, that doesn't mean that like what I did was necessarily bad, so I don't need to hop on the defensive, but now I can give my perspective of like, oh, when I did that, I didn't mean for it to do this. This was actually my intention.
Absolutely.
And you kind of go back and forth like that until you get to the conclusion, but you both get understood in that process. You both walk away from that like actually understanding each other's perspective, and now you have motivation to not do that again because you're like, oh, I don't want her to feel sad. It's not just like, oh, she doesn't like when I do that, you know?
And I do want to piggyback to what you said, well, what you're saying, because I actually have a friend, and a few years ago, like she brought something to my attention, and I felt like, man, like that sucks. Like, of course you don't want to hear someone say something about you that you're like, man, do I really act this way, or do I really talk this way, or do I and it was just more of a like humbling moment, because it's not just us. Like, it could definitely be translated in some of my other friendships, relationships. So even though you and that one person are having a relationship or friendship, or you're trying to like see how you guys may align and stuff, like I feel it's always important to try to hear someone out sometimes, even despite the delivery, because we want things to be said to us a certain way, and we should be mindful and tactful in how we're telling people stuff. But if it just so happened to not come out right or whatever, then we still need to take the meat and potatoes from what they're saying, because that could, you know, be the deciding factor between you keeping a friendship that could be a good one, or even like just growing in your career or whatever the case might be, because you can just learn a lot by being open to, you know, taking accountability for how you are.
100%, I agree with that. self-reflection or like willing to self-reflect even on something that you don't agree with, like is there some validity to this? It doesn't have to be 100% true, but if it's a part of it that's true, you should kind of consider that part of it. You know? Maybe I need to make certain adjustments, stuff like that. Yeah, I think that leads a lot to like self-growth and stuff. Okay, so I'm glad you brought up friends, because that was my next question. In the friendship capacity, do you guys have the same like rules? Because I know relationships, we require more, or we would want more from our significant other. But in a friendship, I don't think I hold my friends to the same standards at all. So, for example, like, can a friend be considered a good friend if they're not showing up for like in the little things, but they are showing up in your big moments?
I think with friends there is more grace because we each have our individual lives. So it's like I'm not doing a life together with you in the sense of like a relationship, like we're gonna become one, grow our own family and whatnot. Like we're just friends. You could be in a whole nother state. I think if you show me that you're at least trying to show up, and I don't know, it's definitely not held to the same standard as being in a relationship, but I think there still needs to be some, what am I saying?
Like accountability?
Some
consistency?
We're not hitting it.
Some way of showing that you support me and like you're an actual friend in my life.
In
you know?
what
the
you're
big
doing.
moments.
Yes.
But I don't even know because, for an example, there's a friend that although I extend invitations, I know she's not showing up. But I just do it to kind of be kind, but I still want her around. But I'm like, oh, she'll be like, yeah, I'm coming. And then...
Oh, and she said she's coming.
And then, like, right before, it's an excuse. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I knew that was coming. So I'm like, that does kind of...
Yeah, that hurts.
Diminish the...
Because
am I going to keep extending... Exactly. Am I going to keep extending invites? Like...
But sometimes, coming, I will say, I mean, I've been on both ends, but especially when I was in school, though, I did appreciate school, and then after that, I was just like, I did appreciate being invited, even though sometimes I was like, I gotta stop, I can't make it or whatever, but it's nice to know that it's still there, because sometimes you will feel disconnected from, you know, your friends if you don't get those invitations, but then you kind of just like, okay, you know. But
look at that. It's also it's subjective to each friendship too.
Did your friend ever acknowledge like when she would like cancel whichever like you know, I know I keep canceling, like, you know, acknowledging her actions and giving
see, and that is the deciding factor, I think, from what you were saying. Because if she did acknowledge, I feel like you wouldn't probably feel as like super hesitant to invite her, because she would have acknowledged it is a trend within her, but it would show she kind of is trying, even though she still is not.
Yeah, and sometimes it starts to feel like, oh, I feel like you're lying now. Like,
really?
I feel like that excuse was just...
Oh, the excuse. What if what I'm saying is if she says what he was saying and like, oh, I know I'm been like...
Oh.
You would feel that's an excuse too? Or no?
Oh, I know I've been...
Like apologetic.
Not I'm playing it out in my head.
Let's say you invite her or something, she says, oh, I'm coming, and then she cancels. Not at that moment. I'm talking about in like a random text or in a random conversation. Like maybe it comes up or something, and she's like acknowledges that. Like you don't bring it up to
that
her
would definitely
for her
feel
apology.
better.
Yeah.
Because like she's holding herself accountable,
right,
and understanding that she's not showing up the way she should within a friendship.
Gotcha.
But if you just acting oblivious to it, and
yes, okay, that's
okay.
different. Yes,
there are certain things. Yeah, I'll be honest. There's certain things that I know I probably do wrong, but I'm like, well, if I don't say anything and you don't say anything,
then it didn't
I
happen.
could probably keep doing this. But if I acknowledge it and then continue to do the exact same things, I'm like, this is gonna be a real bad look. So I think sometimes people really do know what they're doing, and they refuse to acknowledge it because they know they can't continue to do it exactly the same. Because I'm like, that's gonna be a real bad look. That's gonna be a real.
The excuses get new.
Like, so it's like, oh, let me just continue to ride. I'm like, they didn't say nothing, so let me just continue to ride this train as long as I can, you know.
And it's like they'll make the plan.
Oh, dang, that's...
And I'll be like, yeah, sure, okay. We can, and then they'll cancel.
Yeesh.
But
if they make the plan, that's kind of bad. I'm not gonna... I feel obligated if I make the plan.
And it's a mixture, right? It's small things, it's big things. Like, it might just be coming over. Or the other might be, I needed you for a setup.
I see, yeah.
And I needed the hands, and you didn't show up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like... Oof. I don't know. Is the friendships have weight to them too?
No,
I
they
agree.
do. They do.
I always feel like, for me, I mean, I was a little bit late to the dating game, so I truly valued my friendships. Like, I mean, we all should, but like, I really valued them or value them currently too, to the point where I'm like, if I'm struggling in this area, my friendship, it's gonna affect me in my relationship. That's how I view it. Because if you struggle with, I don't even know, like being thoughtful in friendships, like, oh my goodness, your birthday's coming up. Oh my, we got to do something. If you can't even have that thought for your friend, how are you gonna do that in a relationship? Yeah. If you can't even communicate that, hey, my friend like did something I didn't like, or like whatever. If you cannot communicate in a friendship, you cannot effectively communicate in a relationship successfully.
Because the basis of a relationship
I'm sorry,
is a
that's
friendship.
just
I
just gotta.
Because if you say that, let me tell you something. You're eliminating a lot of guys from this. You're telling a lot of guys that they can't be effective.
No. I'm not saying you can't.
Do that
I'm not saying you can't
to your friendship.
Exactly. So
No.
I'm like, that don't mean I can't be effective in my relationship.
No, but
I just do something different in my relationship.
But y'all are different though. We're more the lovey-dovey.
Oh, so you're saying with females, you have to be effective in your friendships.
But there are some guys that are like, hey bro, like your birthday's about to come up.
Absolutely.
Let's go out and like do
That's
something.
true, too.
Absolutely.
Like, oh bro, you know I appreciate you. I really want to do this for you for your birthday. Some guys do that.
Absolutely, but Melinda, come on now. We know that is not the vast majority out
all
there.
men
But
type
y'all,
of woman.
I mean,
And no, it's not a bad thing. I don't consider that bad. It's just not. I feel like we just operate different. Like I think guys operate a lot from
I do
like.
wish guys were more brotherly.
We have an understanding. I feel like a lot of guys operate that. We don't gotta say it out loud. Like we just have an understanding. We just know. You know what I'm saying? Like it's. I don't know. We just know. We don't gotta say it out loud. But y'all need like the out loud.
So you guys don't communicate with each other, like if something bothers you
Come
or
on now.
something?
I know y'all seen those like memes of like, oh, guys in a group chat or like guys on like a trip. Bro, it's pandemonium. It's like
so
we
how
don't.
do you feel about, as a man, how do you feel about your male friends, or I guess even female friends, or just in your relationship, about little and big things? Like, what is the male perspective now?
Yes.
All right. So in friendships, I guess it depends, right? Because there's different levels. And especially after college, couple years after college, you really get to evaluate like, oh, you know, what is a real friend? Because certain people are just like circumstantial friends. They're college friends. They're high school friends. You know, it doesn't mean that they did anything wrong. It's just like, you know, we're not in the circumstance that honed our friendship. Certain people will stick with you. So for me, it's different because I have different levels. There's people that I'm just like, if we see each other, we're cool, we're friends, but I'm not going to be reaching out to you. I'm not going to be thinking about your birthday, stuff like that. I might tell you happy birthday. That's probably about it, you know? People that are a little bit closer, I don't expect much from people. That is very me, though. I have very low expectations from people. If they do it, that's awesome. And I'll look at you very fondly for it, but I won't look at you sideways for not doing things, especially little things. I don't necessarily know why I'm like that, but I can tell you that's how I am. So from friends, yeah, it doesn't matter. Really doesn't. In relationships, then I would expect a little bit more. And I'm with you guys on the little things matter. Yeah, you've got to be consistent in little things. The big things are great, you know, it's little surprises. It's like extra on top, but you got to have the little things because I think it shows character. And I think it also, like, the thing that's bad about the little things is that because it's consistent, it oftentimes gets overlooked. But I also think that's kind of a good thing because that means that you've been so consistent with this that I've just come to expect it, which is a great thing. I don't have to like doubt that you'll do the little things. Like if that becomes an issue in a relationship, that's not the real issue. That's actually a great quality. you guys just need to add another layer now, you know, because that means you've worked out this lovely foundation. Now we just need to add something on top. So I think that's actually a good thing. That's my thought on it.
Good point.
Okay, that was good.
How do you feel about it when it comes to family, big things versus little things?
We gonna get there. I have one more question, and then we're gonna switch to family next. Actually, talking about little big things. Yeah.
Oh,
I just want to say super quick. I feel like when people don't show up for you in any aspect or like any level of relationship, I feel like there's two aspects. One, they're more than likely going through something they actually need prayer. So it's like, God, I don't feel like this person is showing up for me. If it's something that I need to pray about, like show me. Or I might like bring the conversation to them and be like, are you okay? Like, do you need me to pray for you? Because sometimes we do need to step out of ourselves and be like, okay, you probably got a lot going on.
Yeah.
Or it is the little sign that we don't need a signier sign from God. That person shouldn't be your friend, or you don't necessarily need them in your life. So yeah.
That's a good point. I could say I've definitely been probably a terrible friend, and actually not even the greatest boyfriend, because I was going through something, for sure. And I don't think it's too common out there for people to do that check. They just kind of assume that, everything's fine in your life and you're doing this intentionally, you know? Yeah. But yeah, that's not a common thought. I think that would be very helpful in many relationships. If people like didn't jump to the assumption that everything is fine, like maybe they are
going
this is
through
out of
something,
character,
right?
they are going through something. I like that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So let me ask this question, and then we're gonna, then we'll switch things up. So if your significant other, if your friend doesn't see the little things you do, they only see the big things, what does that say about the person? Are they not a good significant other? Are they not a good friend? Does that need to change? Because some people like that's, you know, and it could be through no fault of their own. So the type of person that I envision when I ask this question is a person that maybe was spoiled as a child, so they don't see little things anymore because they've always gotten big things. Like everything has been like, oh, what I desire. People always just do these big things for me. You know, people that maybe have grown up with a lot of money, so like every birthday was this big thing. You know, stuff like that. So that's what they come to expect. Like what would be less? Why would I have less? They don't know what that looks like. But what do you think?
I agree. Normally it is the people that grew up like that that can't acknowledge the smaller things. And I think that's what that video that we saw was talking about. It's like, look at the small things. If I'm tired today and they do something that I was supposed to do out of nowhere, like just to help me out, like that's something small that's like, what was the question?
What do you think about your dynamic? Do you think that you need to that says something about them, that they're not a good friend or a partner?
Thank you. That's what I needed. I feel like one that would be hurtful, because it would also be the standpoint of, what do you mean? Like, I've been doing this, there we go. But I also think that's where the play of love languages comes in, and how each person needs to learn.
Absolutely.
Honestly, every single person that's in their life, relationship, families, friends, or whatnot, because you can be showering this person with gifts, and that is the bottom of their list, and all they're asking is for you to sit on the couch with them, and finally spend time with me. So it's like, talk to that person, get to know the person more than you think you know them, because you might be giving something to them that they don't want.
Okay.
I agree.
So, you can be with someone like that. You just have to understand what their love language is and then give them that.
Right, and vice versa.
Okay. So it's all cool and copacetic as long as they're getting what they need from their love language and you're getting what you need from your love language. All right, cool. I don't know. All right. The only thing that I'm like, I don't know, is because I'm like, if you're not acknowledging what okay, yeah, but it's not your love language. All right.
Wait. You mean in that way?
Yeah.
But there should also be expression of, you remember when you were saying, like, oh, when you were saying instead of getting on the defensive side, you can also communicate. I didn't realize this is how. Like I didn't realize this is how you needed me to show up for you.
Yeah.
This is how I feel like I've been showing up for you. Is that something you want me to continue doing? Like, what matters to you so I can understand you more? Like, that has to be an open conversation.
Okay, that's true. All right, so once it's addressed, then I would know, okay, dude, like, don't put emphasis on the little things because she doesn't really care about the little things. Dude, all right, I can live with that one. I can live with that one.
It is a tough reality, though.
It is, because I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
You don't, what? Okay, but, everybody's different. Gotta respect that. All right, so let's shift gears to the family aspect. So think about in terms of like parents, children, right? What do you think has the biggest or the longest lasting impact on a child? The little things day to day or showing up in their big moments?
Definitely the big moments. Well, I say the big moments up until a certain age, and then after, it's always going to be relevant, of course.
Yeah.
But I think when you're in like high school and you're in middle school and you see other kids with their parents and like your parents aren't there, or you just have to be like, well, my mom was working or whatnot. It definitely hits more. When you grow up, you're like, oh, I don't care. Like I'm on my own. But I do feel like as you get older, you do start to remember the little things that your parents did for you as a child, and you're like, oh, I kept asking for polos, and you don't even realize that your parent was struggling.
Yeah.
So the little things that they did for us was a grand thing for them because they were struggling back then. They were going through their own life experiences because they were really 26, 27, 30 at their age. So I think it just changes over time. But then sometimes the childhood trauma of being neglected transpires into adulthood. So
That's very, you hit it.
So, okay, so you think what we remember most from childhood is actually the little things?
Okay, well, we're gonna have to define those two because in my mind, low key, I kind of feel like the big things can be. So, okay, are we thinking like basketball games, graduations, big things, or like buying these lavish things and going to these amazing places?
No, all of those can be like big things. So like, graduations. I'm coming to, I don't know, maybe not every basketball game. Maybe I'm coming to the
because those
game,
little,
like
because
maybe
those
big things are the support.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that's up there.
So you think that's what's most memorable is the big moments.
It's the oh man, that's
not
hard.
the making your lunch every day for school.
No, but
type
those.
of thing.
It's so hard because I do think the little things do matter too. Because those little things, like
matter.
I think about the little things, at least for me.
Yeah.
Like
no, but that's what I'm saying. I just don't think that we appreciate those little things
Until
or
we're
care
older?
about those little things until we're older. Like we
Yeah.
might have
Glad you
noticed it
being
as
honest.
a kid.
Maybe
'Cause I was
I'm
gonna call
different.
y'all
I
some
don't
liars
know.
If you said differently, I'm not gonna lie.
No, for real.
Really?
Because
Yeah.
as a kid,
you
all
don't
the things we were
care.
asking for and
Yeah.
our parents were like, I can't have it, we threw a tantrum.
Okay, yes, but sometimes you may see that they really are struggling.
Yeah.
So you kind of feel,
Sometimes,
at least, I don't know, I could be different, but I'm just saying, like, I appreciate going to Chuck E. Cheese.
No facts.
That was lit.
Like I definitely
Okay, you
had
know what I
moments
mean?
where I
I-
realized like, oh, Linda, chill. But then there was also, I just didn't like how I think of it now. Like I was crying about my mom like a month or two ago. Just the thought of how much I didn't realize, like what I noticed as a kid wasn't even nearly the amount of stuff that she
Yeah.
actually did for me.
Yeah.
You
That's
know?
true. Parents be doing
Absolutely.
a lot.
Yeah.
Going through school, I was
Absolutely.
like, oh, well, there's this club, they're having this, they're having that. I can't do this on Friday. I can't go, I can't do certain things, what that other kids are doing. So that's what's in the forefront of my mind as a kid. But like growing up, I could care less. Now I can do whatever I want. I don't need permission from my mom. Like my mom, like if she shows up, she's like, I want her. When you grow up, you're like, oh, my parents don't need to come, right?
Yeah.
You just spend your own individual time with them.
Yeah.
But you definitely just remember everything.
Yeah.
That
I
they did for
agree.
you
I
as a
feel like
child.
as a kid, they don't. I wouldn't say they don't care, but they don't really notice the little things. Like, it's literally like the relationship where it's like expected. You know, like you've been doing this so long, it's like, oh, this is just what life is. That's what mom does.
Like,
That's
they're
what
just being
dad
taken
does,
care
you know?
of.
Like, and I could like for mom that makes lunch every day. There's that kid at school complaining. Oh my gosh! Look what again. Like
she gave me spaghetti,
bro. Like
I wanted
she's
pizza.
making you a
That's so
home-cooked
ungrateful,
meal
though.
every
I
day.
mean,
like that's correct. That's work.
Nah,
Now I
can't.
even think about like my dad bringing me to the grocery, like not the grocery store, like the bodegas. Right? Oh yeah, he used to give us like $5. He used to go in and get us like that was such a good experience. But when I was little, I was just like, oh, we're going into a store. Like,
See what?
I gotta eat
That's-
Lunchables.
You know?
See what? For real? Though? No, I can't be the one of you guys have to.
What
I
kids
have
you?
I have core memories that I'm like, yo, even then it was lit. Like, I remember in New York before karate, Courtney and I, with my grandma, my parents didn't know, but like we would try to be on our best behavior so we could get candy before karate, and we would pull up at the corner store and we got to pick like 2 candies, like, you know, baby bottle pop, the push pop, the stuff that our parents just could not let us get. And that's a core memory for like us that it's so small, but like that made such an impact on
My
like,
childhood
me.
was definitely lit.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I believe
for
it.
sure. Even looking back, the things that I didn't know were big things. Now I look back, I'm like, oh, like we actually had a really good childhood. And I remember those moments and like being excited and behaving to go to my cousin's house, sleeping over.
Exactly.
Like creating dances with my cousins and like my parents letting me sleep over and whatnot. But I just don't know if the weight of it was there as much as it is for me now today.
Okay, that's fair.
I really think as a kid, like, we have an expectancy of things. You know, like
That's
everything
true.
is big to us. We don't see anything as like little with our desires, with what people do for us. You know, some things it's big or little depending if we care or not. So like, for example, like you really wanted to get that like candy and stuff like that. So that was a big thing for you. It wasn't actually little, but like it was little, but your perception of it was big because your desire for it was big.
Okay.
Like I
got
think that's
you.
because that's how we think about it. Whatever we desire, if we get it, that was huge. Yes, I got it. But like little things to us would be whatever we don't care about. So like we may not care to get the lunch every day. We may not care that mom, you know, helps us with our homework after school.
Right.
We don't want to do the homework, period. You know what I'm
she
saying?
did
Like
help me out with
so like
homework.
we don't care. Those are like little
Yes,
things to us.
okay.
But it is like
Yeah.
when you get older and then you can reflect, oh, even those things that I didn't necessarily care about, like you recognize that it was a sacrifice for them, or that it took time, or that it took thoughtfulness.
Absolutely.
And then
And
you
that's
appreciate it.
what I'm realizing, because the emotions and stuff that we're going through today at our age.
Oof.
What am I, 26?
Oh my.
My mom had me at 25. So that means she had my sister and my brother before me. I couldn't possibly imagine
Absolutely
having
not.
I don't understand it.
3 kids at this age. And she came from Haiti. You know? So it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
There's some warriors.
I don't know how they did
For
it.
real.
They buckled down. And thank them. Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, parents. She's probably going to watch this. Thanks, Mom.
Happy late Mother's Day and early Father's Day.
You really early.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna let it slide.
Auntie Day's coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think shapes us more? Is it those little things or is it those big things?
The little things.
Yeah.
Little things that you think they shape you more?
Absolutely.
Because I
Determine
feel like
what type of
that
person you'll be.
feeds into your character and who you are as a whole. Like the big things, you get to decide what you want to do and what you don't want to do as an adult. Like you can be like, oh, now I want to celebrate my birthday. I didn't celebrate my birthday as a kid, but now I can show up for myself. I can show up for my friends however I want. But being able to share, you know, being compassionate towards people, being considerate, that is stuff that you learn from like your parents, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then it, you know, just.
I would agree, because it's like whatever. One of my professors always said this, and she like drilled it into us. She's like, repetition is the key to learning. So every lecture, she was always like repeating the same dang sentences from like the lecture before and then the lecture so. She's like, you're going to learn this whether you want to or not. Like, you're just going to get tired of hearing it. And it's like the same in obviously trying to learn things. So when I study, like, yeah, you got to like read it repeatedly and stuff, but also the things that you do repeatedly become who you are. The things you witness repeatedly become like a part of you. So I think when you are older and you do notice like, oh, it was like these little things that were consistent that my parents did, they shaped me. So for me, for example, my mom was something I was very like thoughtful and considerate, and it's something that I always like admired about her, and I admire it so much more even as I'm older now. And I try to emulate that too. I try to be as thoughtful as I can and considerate of others as I can. And it's something I also look for in a significant other. Like I want them to have that quality because it's something I really admire. My dad, he's a big thinker. Like he always stressed to me like the importance of like thinking before making decisions, like not rushing into things and stuff. So hearing that over and over and over again, yeah, it's with me now. Like I do think a lot. Like there's a lot going on in my brain. So it's those consistent little things that I think do shape us, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so let me read this little quote here. Okay, so this person says, listen to anything your children want to tell you, no matter what. If you don't listen eagerly to the little stuff when they're little, they won't tell you the big stuff when they're big, because to them, it has always been big stuff.
Wow.
So this person was talking about like how, this was actually a husband writing this about his wife, because he was like, yo, I see her. He's like, I don't know how she's able to like always give our kids the attention they need. Like even if they're in a conversation, the kid's like just trying to tell them honestly some nonsense, you know, like, but you're like, you know, the adults are talking, give me just a second, but she always comes to them like, oh, hey, what do you need, Johnny? And I'm like, you know, that's something that isn't too common. Like, I don't even think I would do that. I'd be like, oh, this is some nonsense, you know, like, tell me this later. Like, you know, like, why now? You know, it's not even anything important anyways, but to them, it really is, you know, like, so I think that was actually profound because as a adult, I don't think we always view things through the same lens that our kids do. But yeah, that's why they don't tell us things later on. They're like, oh, you didn't care, you know?
And that really just made me think about our relationship with God and learning to speak to God from young. Because if we're supposed to look at God as our Father, if I can't go to my earthly father, what makes you think I'm going to be able to go to my heavenly Father?
Absolutely.
If I could see you, what makes you think I'm going to talk to somebody I can't see?
Can't see, right.
Like, you know?
Yeah.
Especially if I'm a kid and I know no better. Like, dang, that's actually important.
Yeah.
To teach your kids how to communicate to you. That's crazy.
Yeah. We have parents have a very heavy responsibility, even more than just like raising a child, but also being an example of what a parental figure looks like, because that's what God should look like. And there's a lot of things that we misjudge or misrepresent about God because of our skewed relationships down here, you know. There's certain people that think like God's gonna abandon them when they do wrong because their father abandoned them, stuff like that.
That's so true. I never thought about that, because one thing that's helped me get closer to God is understanding him more as a father, because I never expected my father to give me every single thing I want. Like, I expected my father to discipline me when I needed to be disciplined. Although, didn't need some of them.
Second that.
But like, but I would be happy to see my dad when he came through the door for work or whatnot from work. So I'm like, that's the same thing it should be with God, right?
Right.
So like, I should be happy to be in his presence, and I should be able to go to him for anything. And when I am not being obedient, then I can expect God to give me the things that, well, I can't say that because he gonna bless me regardless.
Yeah.
But in the grand sense of, we have freedom of choice, right? So if God tells me I'm gonna get something and I do everything that he tells me not to do, I can't expect to get to that thing he promised me.
Right.
So yeah, that's just a good connection.
Now, okay, so let's give this very classic example when it comes to like big and little things in the family dynamic, right? So you have the dad who's the breadwinner. He works a lot, so he's not really there for the little day-to-day things, but he tries his best to show up in those big moments. Is that an okay dynamic? Or is it really important for him to show up in those day-to-day little moments? Because he's trying his best to provide for his family, but to do that, some of the little things get sacrificed.
Can you repeat the question again?
Okay, so in that example,
Yes.
basically, what would you do? Like, what would you do in that situation? Would you sacrifice the providing for your family to be there for those little things because you realize, oh, like, this is important for my child's development?
Well, I mean, one, we gotta eat. So not unfortunately, that has to come first, but I mean, they're gonna remember that they didn't have food if you don't go to work and get the money.
Remember more.
But I mean, I get what you're saying. There still has to be some sort of balance. But if somebody is just like, oh, I just want to go on these lavish trips and just be way, I mean, we all have our personal goals and things like that we want to achieve.
Yeah.
But like, if your kids are suffering as a result of you kind of being a little bit selfish in what you want, and instead of taking the time of doing something that you could do to make money when you guys are good, at least at this point, you can put that time into going to a game that they have going on, or sitting down with your daughter and going to a father-daughter date, or a mother-daughter, if the mother is the breadwinner, whatever,
Yeah.
and like use that time to make certain core memories with the kids, because those are the things that they're going to remember, on top of course, them getting a new phone, or like them getting whatever they want. So that's
because it's like one thing to be an absent father, but to be a present father that's absent is.
She
I
over
feel
here
like
dropping
that.
gems.
I feel like,
Yes, it's true.
in a way, I feel like that might hurt more.
Yeah,
Yes,
like, what was your
because-
excuse?
Right.
What was you doing?
And I'm like, working hard and being there for your kids is definitely possible. I watch my brother do it every day, and I don't know how, because he has his car detailing business. He be up at the crack of dawn.
Which, by the way, I need to.
Yeah.
Alice Dynamic Auto Spa, y'all go ahead and follow him. Get your car detailed.
Shameless plug.
Right. But I'm like, the kids, they're always doing stuff. He's like with them at soccer practice, ballet, and whatnot. And of course, they have their mom, and that helps with like balance. But he still shows up, so it's definitely doable. And I think there's a lot of aspects to that, because some
very nuanced question. I set y'all up. I'm not gonna lie.
some parents might stay in a job that ain't paying them for 27 years because the old school was about like staying at a job, with stability.
Yeah.
But you
Time
gotta
to go.
get to the job that's gonna allow you to be
to have that
with your family, because
flexibility
they're gonna
too.
remember you being absent, even for the little things like you didn't tuck me into bed, certain things like that.
That makes sense.
And
No,
sorry,
go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah, for sure.
I was gonna say even discipline, because
that's true.
you could get a little bit,
You could tell which ones weren't disciplined.
Yeah.
and that's a tough reality.
You gotta be present
you
to
know?
discipline. It can't be like you come home and here go mom telling you, oh, this is what Chris did. Okay, Chris, you're like, bro, like,
And
you weren't
even
even here.
and
Like,
even right, and even then, like a parent could easily say, "Oh, you're grounded," but the kid is not gonna take you serious if you just gonna be working, and then
right.
Yeah.
And what that does is
they
that
gonna
just
go and get their, what is it? I don't even know what y'all be, PlayStation, Xbox, we. Let me stop. I ain't that old, but like, come on, they're not gonna take them serious.
What
if
that ends up doing, I feel like, is making you just seem like the feds. Like, you just come home to put me in trouble. You don't seem like a father at all.
Yeah, there's no relationship.
You're just
there.
the disciplinarian. You know the word.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're here.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's switch gears one more time. So now let's switch to the spiritual side of things. So we're going to take this in two different directions, but let's start with one that's probably a little more obvious. Does God care about the little things day to day, or only the big moments, like you're going through a health crisis and this, that?
He
Does
cares
care the little
about all the small things in my life.
Amen to that.
Hallelujah.
How do you know that?
Because this man be showing up and showing out.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy.
Can you give an
You got a
example?
testimony for us?
Yeah, it sounds like she got.
I mean,
testimony.
just like in general, when you step back and you're like, especially when there's situations that you're like, oh, this could have been way worse.
Yeah.
If
That's true.
I didn't heed my father and exit the situation real early on. I think, of course, there's the little things in finances and like when you're faithful in sowing a seed into someone or even just paying your tithes. Like in the past, it used to be, I can't say, no, I like giving to people. Even if it's my last dollar and I got it, I'm gonna give it to you because if I got it and you need it, like you need it, right? So in the past, I used to just be doing that. And I had to back up because at some point I need the money too. But
Yes.
But I used to be like, oh, well, this is my last. I'm gonna give it regardless. And in that, I want to say either in that same week or in that same month, I think it was like $91. I got the exact $91 back off of finding money on the floor.
Oh, not the finding
Like
money on the
I was
floor.
working, I walked around the register and there was a $50 bill. I said, oh, that's crazy. Snatched it up. Then on my break, I went to the bathroom and then something told me back up. I backed up, I looked in the stall, there was like $41 sitting on the toilet thing. And
That
I was
is
like,
too random.
oh,
wow.
snap. Where you work at again? That was the outlets. That's when
Slide through
we
there.
used to really have like tourists that dropped money back then. But yeah, he definitely thinks about the little things. And God is so good.
He is. I will say that mine's a little unconventional. I mean, this is just one of many, but I feel like Jesus is my personal couponer. I say that because
This is new.
I go into like majority of the times, I'll go into any store, whether I'm going grocery shopping, whether I need a new outfit, whether I need anything. And I'm like, God, you see my bank account, and even if I'm doing okay, you still know I'm still looking for a deal. Like I'm not trying to spend
What I could spend.
what I could spend. You know what I mean?
Go below the budget.
Right. And every time he shows up, like, and it's crazy. There was one time specifically I was looking for basically like a carrying box or case or whatever for my supplies for work. And I saw online it cost like close to $40. It was like $30-something. I was like, I don't want to spend this, but I know I need it, so let me just go get it. So I went, there was only 2 left, and I'm like, yes, I'm gonna get it. Well, online it said there's 2 left, but I saw there was a different color, and I didn't want that color. I was very picky. I was like, can I have it in black? So I asked him, he's like, oh, let me go in the back, but I need to help this guy out first. So I was waiting there for him, and long story short, he ended up finally coming around the corner. He's like, oh, shoot, I forgot you were here. He's like, you know what? Thanks so much for waiting. He gave me a huge discount.
Hey.
And basically ended up paying a whole lot less. Like, I was like, there's no way you could give me this kind of discount. Like,
It was like $15.
It was like close to that.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I'm like, there's no way. He's like, oh yeah, and it's on sale, but I was like, please put all the money,
Don't
whatever.
tell me anything
right,
you gotta
just
do on that
everything.
computer
And
screen.
I literally went to my mom with the receipt. I'm like, look how much I got this for. Look at online, like, and it happens every time I have to come home sometimes and show my mom receipts because she wouldn't believe me. I'd be like, God, just be
doing what he gotta do.
We here. He my personal couponer. I'm telling you.
And is.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, I agree. God definitely cares about the little details. I've said before, like, how I will be feeling some type of way, and I'll just tell God, like, look, God, I'm feeling angry, sad, annoyed, frustrated, like, whatever it is, like, and I don't really want to feel like this anymore. And, give it some minutes, and I don't know, something changes, like, so he cares about the little things. The Bible talks about how he knows the hairs on your head, and, like, there's not a bird that falls out the sky that he don't see, so, like, how much more does he care about you? So he definitely cares about the little things. And then what we were saying earlier with the whole, like, seeing God as your father, I'm like, he cares about the things that you care about. So, like, for example, if we just think about God as, like, this big being that is all-powerful and stuff, you'd be like, oh, he don't care about me getting deals in the store,
Right.
But, like, if you think about it as your father that cares about you, like, whatever you care about, he cares about. Like, oh, Brown, you like deals? Okay, let's get you a good deal, Because, like, he cares about what you care about. Like, it's amazing when you start to think of God in that way.
Yeah.
you get that closeness. You're like, oh man, this guy's awesome.
I think that's why it's important to talk to him about little things too.
Yes.
Like that prayer that all Christians do when you can't find your keys and you rush in, like, God, please help me find my keys. And then you look, that thing is under like a pile of clothes. You're like, how did I even like get to look over there? So yeah.
Yeah, it's honestly awesome. So let me real quick before we move. Like, we basically sometimes got to do the same strategy of that video with relationships. We got to do it with God. Like, like he woke me up today. Like, he loves me. He gave me this job that I have. He loves me. Like, stuff like that. Like, sometimes we overlook the little things that God does for us.
Absolutely.
And then we're wondering, like, oh, God, where are you when this happened or when that happened? We're like, oh, how about all these other things I'm doing all day, every day, you know? So I think if we apply that relationship, that strategy with God, it would also help our relationship with him too. But let's flip this, because we're looking about it like, does God care about the details, the little things or the big things? What about like us in our spiritual walk? Should we be caring about like every step of our spiritual journey, like these little, like the little details, or should it be like the overall, that I'm heading in the right direction overall?
No, it's definitely about the small things.
It's about the small things? Why you say that?
Because you know how they're like, it's about the big picture? Well, in the big picture, there's a lot of minor details. There's a lot of minor details. And it's like, without those little details, the big picture wouldn't be there. Like, our large purpose, to get to God's kingdom, would be nothing if, like, our small assignments didn't fall into place, right? So the same way God could just tell you, hey, go walk up to that person and tell them Jesus loves you. Like, that is 3 words.
Yeah.
True.
That's very small, and you could have just saved that person's life right there. So it's like, in our walk with God, and that's why discernment is so important, talking to God is so important, being able to hear him is so important, because you might just listen to the voice in your head like, nah, like, why would you go talk to that person? You know, that person's like, I need someone to show me love right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Audience, let us know what you think. Do the little things matter when it comes to God as much as we think? And like what I just asked, like the little things that we do in our life, do they matter as much as like the overall picture of where our life is going? Now, about what you just said, there was something I saw, I think on Instagram, and it was probably one of the craziest stories about like the listening to the little voice, right? So someone was saying how he was at, let me see if I can remember the details of this. He was at work, and he like got this feeling, like voice told him like, oh, hey, tell your coworker about me. And his coworker's an atheist, very vocal about his atheism, you know? And like something kept telling him like, hey, tell him about your faith, tell him about your faith. So he's like, all right, fine, I'm just gonna do it. Like, he not gonna listen to me, he don't care. So he like, you know, really tried to have a conversation with him, just, you know, tell him about God and how much God loves him, and like, you know, that God's a loving God, he cares about you, all this stuff. Really tried to pour into the person. The person was having none of it. Person, like, I think the person like even like insulted him and stuff, like why are you telling me about this? You're foolish for believing these things, right? So then he's like, well, geez, like, yo, why on earth like did this voice tell me to tell him that? Like, that did not go well at all. Come to find out later on, there was someone else in the office that, honestly, if I remember the story correct, was like contemplating suicide.
Oh, wow.
And then they heard about, you know, all this stuff, and like they decided not to. And they actually ended up like, I think like going to a church, and they ended up giving their life to him. And then they tracked him down later on and was like, dude, it was thanks to you saying this to our coworker that
That's
like,
so crazy.
That is
I was like,
crazy.
whoa, that.
Because you would have
Pop
never,
this. Like,
ever thought about that.
right. You do. Our brains think very like linear. So like, all right, you want me to tell him? Well, clearly something good's gonna happen with him. No, it wasn't for him. It was for dude over there.
Right.
Like, yeah. So sometimes we really do just gotta listen.
Right, and that's why it's important to, well, of course, and then allow just the Holy Spirit to do his thing.
Because it's not always right away either.
That's why we can't be asking why all the time. Right?
Yeah, but
We can't comprehend the things that God does, you know?
all right, let me ask this too, and then we're probably gonna wrap up. Actually, 2 more things. All right, so we agree that God does care about the little things in our life that we can like bring to him. But do you think he's looking at the details of our life to judge us by? Like, let's say the little bad things that we do. Do you think like those are super important to him? Or is it just like, does he just care like, okay, you may have these things, but you're gonna like grow out of that, or you're gonna get over that. I just care that overall you're gonna be saved.
Nah.
You think like each little, let's say little sin that you have, each little white lie you tell, like he really cares.
I think in order to fully walk in the purpose and the calling that God has given us, we have to be that specific person that he has called us to be. Like, not to say we have to be perfect in a sense, but there's certain things we have to remove in order to be able to do the work that he's called us to do. You know, like if our calling was, I don't know, Yaz is good at talking to people. You know, she does chat and chew.
Right.
If that was her calling to just welcome people, and she had this think attitude all the time, like, oh, I don't want to talk to people. Like, you know how many people you're missing?
That's true, okay.
Right? So if, I don't know, that wasn't necessarily a sin, but that was just an example to be like, you know, there are certain things that we have to let go that God cares about because he needs to bring you somewhere. And he can't bring you there if you're stuck
These
down
little
here.
things.
Right.
Okay. That makes sense. I wouldn't have necessarily thought about it like that. Okay.
How were you thinking about it?
So I was thinking, right, and it's not fully cemented in my brain, but I'm starting to strongly consider that God, because he's so above everything, and because he could see the end from the beginning, and because time doesn't work, that's actually the biggest part of it. Time doesn't work the same for him, right? They're like, 1,000 days is just a day for him, right? So he can be like, Belinda, you need to do this. And you're like, I don't know. You could do it right now, right? And that would be a great outcome. You would be walking your purpose, right? But let's say you kind of dilly dally. You're like, no, you kind of push it aside. You kind of procrastinate it. You put it, later on. But eventually you get there. I don't know that God cares as much that, of course he wants you to do it right away, right?
Right.
But I think he also was like, you do it now, you do it 5 years from now. That's on you. Like, you could be walking your purpose right now, and it's pretty sweet.
Right.
But if you decide not to, well, that's your choice. You want to do it 5 years from now. All right, you're going to miss out on 5 years of walking in your purpose. That's what you missed out on. I'm just glad I'm going to make sure you get here. But it
may take you a little longer.
Right.
That's like
you're going to be like the Israelites. You be wandering for 40 years, but you going to get to this promised land.
I was going to use that as an example. Well, I had two examples because, I'm always mentioning Jerry Flowers, but I don't know if I told you about the elevator reference where he's like, God's hope is always to bring you to level 10, but you're getting stuck on level 2 for years and years because of things like people that you won't let off the elevator. And things you won't let off the elevator. So by the time you're supposed to be at level 10, your life ends by level 6 and you didn't get to accomplish level 10 because it took you so long to get up to level 6 or whatnot. But I was also going to say, you're actually right. Because God is going to use you regardless.
Absolutely.
The same way he used Moses, and Moses was like, I can't. And God's like, okay, bro, tell Aaron to do it.
This is getting done.
Go tell Aaron to do it. But God initially told Moses to do it. Like, God knew Moses could do it even if Moses did murder a man. Like, it was nothing to God. He's still going to use you. But, of course, the goal is always to get us to level 10.
Yeah. I think the details would matter to us, and in terms of, how our life would go, or how much happiness we're going to have, or how much strife we're going to have because we was fighting him. And also the example I think of is Jonah. He said, go preach to Nineveh. Now he could have just went to Nineveh. That story lived out his days as a nice prophet, teaching and telling people what God said. All right, cool. But instead the dude had to spend 3 days in a fish. It could have been much simpler. But I was like, hey, this is going to get done. All right, so it's up to you how you want it to get done. I think God definitely cares about the details of our life. I think sometimes when it comes to our purpose and our walk, there are things that truly are up to us. And in the end, he's like, well,
I said, move. CJ
which way you want to do this?
He said, absolutely. He formed us before we were even in our mother's womb and knows how many hairs are on the top of our heads. If God is that detailed about me, he definitely cares about the little things.
Yeah, for sure.
Heart.
All right. Last question, and then we're going to wrap up. So we know with this topic, basically it comes down to like balance. Like little things matter, but so do the big things, right? But I just want to ask, like, what are the dangers if you go to the extreme? So, in the spiritual sense, if we're only focusing on the minute details, if we're trying to be perfect in everything, you know, if that's our focus, what's the danger of that? And then also the other side, like if we're only focused on like the big thing, we're just trying to like, you know, as long as I make it to heaven, I'm cool. Like all the details are like who I am and stuff. It doesn't matter as much. What are the dangers of each of these things?
I think when we focus on the small things in the negative way, of course, we could probably just not give ourselves the amount of grace that, you know, God gives us, in that, you know, he realizes it's going to take us a while. But like, if we're constantly like checking like, oh, it's a new day. Like, am I still struggling with this? Man, and you're just so hard on yourself, you'll never improve because you're constantly like overwhelmed by what you have in front of you. And like, you know what I mean? If I had to make a correlation, I would say like fitness and like working out. Like we could be so like consumed in like the, oh my goodness, I just checked the scale and I'm this. But like, do you see the little wins? Do you see like you're already just feeling a lot better? Your insides could be being like, yes, thank you, please. And you don't realize what's going on inside. You're just like looking at the scale, right? And then it's just, you know, you miss out on the point you can get to, because it is those little things that will lead to your success in, you know, God and, you know, all the other parts of life. But when we focus on the big things, when it comes to God, like too far out, I think, back to what Melinda said, we lose track of the small things that create the big picture.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. I was actually going to, when you were saying about, because you said that earlier about like focusing too much on the big picture and you miss out on the little things that are supposed to lead you like to your purpose. I was like, wow, that is the issue with focusing too much on like the big, like over-looming thing. Or like sometimes, you know, you just gotta take things like step by step, you know. The little things do kind of matter in that sense. And focusing on the little things, it doesn't help too that we have the devil, right? So if you're already gonna be like focusing on those little things, here comes the devil like, oh, you're already thinking negatively of yourself? Let me help you along. Like, you're trash. Like, you know, like he's just gonna pile that on there. So you can't give him that opening. You do have to give yourself grace for sure. And like shame is a really big thing. If you are feeling such shame because, oh my goodness, day after day, I still haven't overcome this struggle yet. You're not going to get there, because shame tells you that you're not good enough, that you're not going to do it. Like guilt is like you feeling bad about it. That's okay. But you can't start attributing feelings about yourself because of the action. You know? So good stuff, guys. Good stuff. So let's end with our talk to the walk. So if you guys don't know, you can submit questions for us to answer here. You can submit them anonymously at thewalklive.org. If you scroll down, you'll see a part that says talk to the walk, and you can put your questions there. Now, we have had a couple submissions about questions relating to the LGBTQ plus community and like questions around that in Christianity. And that's actually a pretty big topic. I wouldn't want to address that just like in the little bit of time that we have here. So we are planning a program completely surrounding that. And it's gonna be in August, the 23rd and 24th. It's gonna be multiple sessions. There's gonna be like Q&A. Right now we are thinking a live in-person thing, but we may try to like post it for you guys to see online as well. Now, for today's talk to the walk, the question is, have you had an encounter with God? If you have, what does it look like? If you haven't, what do you think it should look like?
That's tough.
It's a good question. When I heard it, I was like, that's.
It's like, what is the, like, how would you define an encounter? Like, what is the defining factor of an encounter?
So I'll go first because obviously I heard the question, so I've had time to think about it. When I think about an encounter with God, it's something that I actually wish that for anyone that's looking. Actually scratch that. I was gonna say anyone that's like looking to become a Christian, but like no, all Christians need to have an encounter with God. Period. Even if you are a Christian, if you feel like you haven't had an encounter with God, you need to try to get one, because there's a lot of things that can draw you to Christianity, but I think the things that keep you in Christianity is that encounter, because the encounter is like something that changes you. I can say I have had an encounter, probably multiple. Most of them. Most of the ones that I can remember are during school. Like when I was in Gainesville, I can remember two very vividly. Definitely going through stuff at that time. And one, I remember I was actually listening to William McDowell has like a concert, I guess. I just remember it was like William McDowell like live in worship or something like that. And I was just like listening to this concert, and man, first of all, great, phenomenal, love that guy. But there was a part where they just started like just worshiping, and like I don't know why. Maybe it was like what I was going through at that moment, but like that pure, authentic worship just like did something within me that like I was just in my apartment room, like just in there, but I really felt like God's presence in that room, like. Just because, like, with that worship, I started worshiping, like, and it wasn't like they were singing a song, but they just started just kind of like freely, like, just worshiping. And, like, I started worshiping, and, like, I felt that presence there.
That's awesome.
And I really felt like a shift in me. And I wasn't doing too great in my spiritual walk at that time. I will absolutely admit. After that day, yeah, changes were made. Like certain people were cut off, certain things thrown away. Like, changes were made because like after that encounter I just could not be the same. And I wouldn't even really know how to replicate that, because I didn't have an encounter by asking for one, which is what I would tell people if they're like, oh, I'm looking to, I'm like, wait, you gotta ask for them. But I didn't even have that personal experience,
open arms.
But for me, that's what it looked like. I was just in an atmosphere of like pure, authentic worship, and like God came.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. What about you guys?
I feel like there is just so many instances. I feel like.
Do you want me to go while you think?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Because I think I have one. The one that's sticking out to me is, also having to do with like school-ish related. But I would say when I was studying for my boards for OT,
Struggles.
I am not a big test taker, and I never have been, like, whether it's in school or like standardized tests, SAT. I don't know how I even got to where I went. But yeah, SAT, ACT wasn't too bad. But I just get really bad test anxiety, and sometimes my mind just goes blank. And thank God, I'll just say, like, shameless plug, like, I know other people have gone to like public universities and stuff, but for the majority of my life, I went to private. And I will say that even though, of course, like within the school, like there are some pros and cons, but like a lot of the teachers really did care. And I do think that there were certain things, I don't know how I passed certain classes with the grades I was getting in some of my exams, but I made it. So side note, just a preface, I'm just not a good test taker. So when it came time for me to take my boards, I prolonged taking it, of course, because it cost so much. And I was like, there's no way I can take this again. Like, I know I would have to, right, if I didn't pass. But, like, I don't have I don't have the funds to retake it right now. So I was, like, praying about it. And I never prayed so much in my life for something. I was like, God, I want this, I don't see anything else for my life. Like, if this doesn't work out. And so, like, I prayed, I did my part, and I just constantly had in my mind, like, the whole, you know, you do your part and God will do the rest.
Right.
And then, yeah, like, as I was prepping, I had to keep telling myself to, like, do your part, and whatever happens, just be okay with the result. Like, because either it wasn't your time now to start or just whatever. So I will say, when I started the exam, I never, and I kid you not, I never felt so at peace taking an exam, period. Like, like, I felt like I knew everything. I felt like I was just, like, zipping through it. This guy was, like, wheezing next to me, and I was just like in the zone. And I knew I was so at peace, because I laugh about it now. And in my mind at the time, I laughed about it because I'm like, this is going to be a testimony later on. But I was thinking about what I was going to eat after I was taking the exam. I was so calm. I was like, do I want, no, go back. Like, I was so at peace. And so I thank God, like, you know, for that, because that is the first time I feel like I really, like, diligently, like, prayed. I did my part. And I truly left it in his hands, because when I left, I was like, I don't know. I could have passed and I could have not. Like, I didn't have like I did that. Like, I didn't feel that at all. But I also didn't feel like I failed it either.
Like, you gave it your all.
You
like,
know?
yeah.
So that I will say. So, like, that's just been something, even since then, I still, like, struggle with, is having that peace of, like, God, like, whatever is for me is going to be for me. In every aspect of my life. So that's something that, of course, I continue to, like, try to pray. Like I said, that's the most I ever prayed, like, for something. But yeah, that's something I will say, like, for everybody, like, if you're really, like, earnest and you know, like, okay, God, like, this is what I want, you leave that up to him and just be okay with, like, whatever result, and know that when it's the right time, like, it will happen for you. So, yeah, that was how he showed up for me.
I like that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about with me. I guess mine is more so of, like, a daily encounter, right? I feel like where I am now with my walk in Christ, I'm like, oh, all I experience is peace.
I like that.
Like, although I might have, like, a 10-second window of panic, like, it always results to peace.
Amen.
Quickly come back to that state.
Yeah, because, and it's crazy. It's just you just know God's with you. Like,
you just chill.
Feel peace across. Yeah. Even when people get on my last nerves, even when I'm annoyed, even when I'm stressed, I'm like, it always just comes back to peace and joy, and that's my main, like, prayer for anybody. That's what was I saying? That's a prayer that I pray for, like, anybody that's in Christianity, or just anybody in the world in general, is that they experience God's peace. Because once you have that and you're able to keep that through every single day of your life, it's like nothing can tap you, like, for real. But as far as general encounters, I'm like, man, there's just so many, even, like, the small encounters. And, like, I start every single morning with worship. When I'm driving to work. It's like my worshiping moment. And that's normally when I'm praying for everybody, as I'm driving, as I'm worshiping. And that's probably also, that's where I get to just sing the loudest too. Because Maddie be telling me to be quiet. But no, that is like my only really alone time. So that's where I'm with God a lot of times. And I remember there was just one day I was not happy. I was just sad. Like, my heart was sad. I forgot what it was about. And I just looked at the cloud, and just like we saw a ray today, like, the sky was just shining, and I bust out in tears. I was like, it was just God's comfort. And I was like, man, God, you're just so good, because even in that moment of sadness, all I was feeling was joy. Yeah. After that moment, I'm like, God is just so good. And I always just try to remember myself. And I tell my girls this on the Bible study, and just in general, that whenever we feel like we're distant from God, like, he's never left us.
It's true.
God doesn't leave us, we leave him. So his hand has always reached out to us, and all we have to do is grab it. Right. So that is something that I just constantly remind myself about, to when I am feeling shameful or like guilty, like he's still there. Like just one willing to hold yourself accountable to God because he already knows. Don't go running like Adam and Eve. Like show yourself before God. Talk to him, and like he's never gonna leave you. He's just your best friend.
That's what he is.
Yeah.
He's always there. Always there. Doesn't matter. Well said, guys. Well said. I hope that answers the question. So that concludes our episode for today. I want to thank Melinda and Brianna for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, you guys did great. Let's pray to close out and then just a couple announcements. All right. Father in heaven, we're thankful that you have allowed us to conclude another episode. We're thankful for all the viewers that could be watching this and all those that were blessed by it. We're thankful that you were able to use us to reach some people and just to talk about this topic and help people through life. We're asking that the words that we speak won't just be things that we're saying, but be things that we're also applying to our lives, that we'll see the little things that other people do for us and also be wary of allowing little negative things to go on for too long. We ask God that you'll give us the wisdom that we need in our lives to be able to identify those that we need to keep around, those we need to maybe distance ourselves from. We're asking that you will uplift us in all aspects of our lives, Lord, in our relationships, in our friendships, in our family life, and definitely in our spiritual life. We're asking God that you will give us more encounters with you. Those that haven't had an encounter, God, you know that is something that changes lives. So give those that haven't had an encounter an amazing encounter with you. Show them who you really are. Show them the love that you have, and show them your true character so that they can fall in love with you like we have. We're asking God that you'll keep everybody safe and bless them in all their endeavors. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, guys. So, first of all, if you haven't liked, subscribed, and shared this to someone, please do that because it'll help us and also hopefully help someone else. We want to let you guys know about things that are coming up. So we talked about that series that's going to be coming. It's going to actually be called Sexuality and the Church. So that's August 23rd and 24th. We'll definitely give you more information as we get more. We also have Homecoming. And I don't know if you guys know, this is like one of my top pastors, Myron Edmonds. He's going to be coming. So that's going to be October 25 and 26. And I'm sure in the summer we're going to have some events, probably another fun day, but more on that in future episodes. Overall, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for coming on the show, guys. Till next time.
Bye.
Whoa. Before you go, make sure you like us on all social media platforms at The Walk Live and find us on any of your favorite podcast platforms. Our journey doesn't have to end here. Join us on the next walk.